everyone, and welcome back to another fun-filled lesson of Actual English. I am Jennifer Clyde. Now, so today's topic, we'll get straight to it, is age. We'll practice talking about how old we are. Perhaps you can also talk about how old other people are, such as your friends, your colleagues, or even your family members. But now, just because today's topic is age does not mean that it's going to be a boring lesson, okay? We're going to find out lots of expressions and phrases and even idiomatic expressions, idioms that is, that are related to age. Expressions you can use in the future and to make your conversations a lot more interesting. So, shall we get started? Here we go. Here is today's Actual Talk.
Rachel, I've got to tell you something. I'm quite angry with you. I recently had a big birthday.
How old did you turn?
I turned the big 3-0.
Wow, the 3-0.
That's not a wow. That's a oh no, disaster.
Well, happy belated birthday anyway.
Thank you, at last.
Yeah, at last.
Better late than never.
That's true. I'm sorry that I'm late, but happy belated birthday. Do you feel different now that you're 30?
I didn't even think about it until the day.
Oh.
And then my wife kept saying, "You're 30, how does it feel?" And I was like, first time I just didn't think about it. I was like, it's fine. And
Yeah.
she kept saying it. And I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, I'm 30. I haven't changed decades, like, since I turned 20.
That's definitely true.
Oh, it's not a great feeling.
Oh. What were you like in your 20s?
In my 20s, it was a decade of change, I think. At the
Yeah.
start of it, single, going to university. At the end of it, married with a baby. So
Wow,
quite a
lots of changes.
big contrast.
Yeah.
How old are you, Rachel?
I am 26.
Okay,
So
you're still young.
mid-20s. I'm only 4 years younger than you.
That's a big 4 years. That's when you go from young to old.
Oh no, I don't look
No,
forward to it.
I'm just kidding. But what were you like when you were a teenager?
When I was a teenager, I was really carefree because my only responsibility was to be a student, right? Yeah, and I was really into sports, so I was really competitive at the same time.
Wow, what kind of sports did you do?
I did field hockey, softball, and also volleyball.
Amazing.
Did you play sports in your teenage years, or?
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of football. Well, in North America, you call it soccer.
That's true, soccer.
Yes, but the one that you actually play with your feet, football, is I'm a massive, passionate fan of football, and I played a lot when I was younger.
You still play?
I'm thinking about retiring now that I have a baby. But yeah, 30s, 20s, teens, it's just a number, right?
That's true.
Age is what you make it.
Exactly.
All right, here we are. Welcome back, everyone. We just took a listen and a look at today's actual talk between Rachel and Peter. To briefly summarize their conversation, now let's check out what they said. What were they talking about? Of course, since today's topic is age, they were both talking about their age. Now, Peter did mention that he recently turned 30 years old. And of course, Rachel is about 4 years younger than Peter. Now, not only did they just talk about, simply talk about how old they were, they kind of added some details to add fun to the conversation, right? So let's check out how you could do that in the future as well. All right, here we go. In today's actual talk, Peter began by saying, "Rachel, I've got to tell you something." And he says, "I'm angry with you." He's angry? Why? Actually, he was just joking. So he says, "I'm quite angry with you." And he says, "I recently, right, not too long ago, recently had a big birthday." So this is a rather simple sentence. I had a birthday. Recently, meaning perhaps a few days ago, a few weeks ago, quite recently, it was my birthday. But he said, I had a big birthday. So let's check out what that big birthday means, okay? Big basically in this case means a very, very important birthday. Or perhaps as you age. Of course, when you turn 10 years old, it's not such a big birthday. 20 years old. Your 20th birthday is bigger than your 10th birthday. What about your 30th? Bigger and bigger and bigger. So, for example, if you turn a certain age, meaning if you turn older and older, you can say that you had a big birthday. Or perhaps even a big birthday party. Anyhow, he says, I recently had a big birthday, meaning I turned a lot older. Okay, let's check out the conversation. And then Rachel asks, so how old did you turn? How old did you turn? How old are you now is another simple question asking somebody's age. But you can say, so how old did you turn? Meaning, how old did you become? Now, Peter says, I turned the big 3-0. Okay, this is interesting. I turned the big 3-0. Of course, you can say, I turned the big 3-0. That's your choice. Let's check out what this means as well. All right, so first of all, he said, I had a big birthday. And then he says, I turned the big 3-0 or the big 3-0. Of course, as you may know, 3-0 or 3-0 refers to 30. That's right. He's just stressing that he has gotten old. So the big here does not mean big in size, but it means old. Okay, the big 3-0, I turned old. I'm old now. I'm 30 years old. Okay? Okay, let's move on and check out the dialogue. Moving on. Now Rachel says, wow, the 3-0. And then Peter says, that's not a wow. Okay, and he says, that's an oh no. What can you tell from this? He says, that's not a wow, that's an oh no. And he says, disaster. Now, of course, we say disaster, but Peter pronounced it as disaster. The A is kind of pronounced differently. It's not a eh, but a rather ah. Disaster, disaster. Anyhow, he does not sound too happy. So he's saying, it's not good. I'm getting old. I'm old now. I'm 30 years old. Oh no, it's a disaster. Okay? All right, moving on. Now, Rachel says, well, happy belated birthday anyway. Happy belated birthday. Happy birthday is what you can say to someone to wish them a happy birthday, to congratulate them on their birthday. But when would you say this? Happy belated birthday? Let's take a look. Now, belated itself means late or delayed. So, say for example, if you missed your friend's birthday was maybe 2 days ago or a week ago and you just found out, or you forgot but you just remembered. So you say, oh no, I missed your birthday, but happy belated birthday. It means although it has passed, although it is a little late, still happy birthday. So the next time you have a chance to say happy birthday to someone past their birthday, you could say happy belated birthday. All right. Now, moving on to what Peter says afterwards. He, of course, thanks her by saying thank you. At last, meaning finally. And he says, better late than never. Okay, better late than never. Now, this is an idiomatic expression as well. So, better late than never basically means that it is good that it happened, although it is a little late. 늦었어도 그래도 다행인 거죠, right? Better late than never. So you're saying, well, it's a good thing that it happened. It's better than not happening at all. Okay, it's good. It's okay. At least you congratulated me. So basically, better late than never is that it is good that it happened now. It's better than it not happening. Okay, and then Rachel says, I'm sorry. Do you feel different now that you're 30, now that you're 30 years old? Okay, let's check out what Peter said. Now he says, I didn't even think about it until the day. Okay, until the day meaning the day, his birthday. He didn't really think about it. It wasn't a big deal to him. And then he says, and then my wife kept on saying, she said it over and over and over again, you're 30. How does it feel? So this is what his wife said, jokingly perhaps. Hey, Peter, you're 30. How does it feel? And he says, well, it's fine. But she kept saying it, and he thought to himself, oh my goodness, yeah, I'm 30. So this is when he realized that he turned the big 3-0. Now that he's a lot older, that is. And he says, that's not a great feeling. One more time. Once again, he stresses that he is not too happy about having become 30 years old. All right, let's move on. Now, Rachel says, so what were you like in your 20s. Okay, what were you like? She's asking about the past. And he tells us, my 20s, it was a decade of change. A decade itself means a certain time period. Okay, so let's take a look. Decade itself means a period of 10 years. You may all know this. A period of 100 years is, that's right, a century. But a decade is 10 years. So when he says a decade of change, it means, yes, 10 years of many, many changes. All right, so let's get back to the dialogue. And he says, the start of it, single, going to university. He's getting to the details. Now, this is the fun part. If you just said, well, during the past 10 years, there were many changes. Make it simple and fun. It was a decade of change. The start of it, in the beginning, I was single and I was going to university. And then he says, the end, I was married with a baby. All right. So he's talking about the changes that occurred, the changes that happened within that decade, okay? And then Rachel says, wow, lots of changes. And he says, big contrast, big contrast. So contrast is perhaps a difference. So he's saying, yeah, it's totally different, big contrast. And then he asks Rachel how old she is. She says she's 26-year-old, so she's in her mid-20s. And she says, I'm only 4 years younger than you, okay? You're 30, I'm 26, so I'm 4 years younger than you. But he says that's a big 4 years. In this case, what does that big mean? Of course, I guess you can say size-wise, but he says 26 and 30, there is a big difference, okay? That's a big 4 years. And then he asks what she was like when she was a teenager. Let's see what Rachel said. She says, when I was a teenager. Now keep this in mind. Peter has asked her a question. What were you like when you were a teenager? And then she asks, when I was a teenager. Sometimes in a conversation, yes, it's very nice to repeat the question and then talk about it. It's a lot more interesting and fun and I guess casual. I was really carefree because my only responsibility was to be a student. Okay, so carefree, let's take a look at what that word means. Okay, now free itself is, that's right, you're not imprisoned. Okay, if you say carefree, it means there's no care. Simply put, carefree basically means that you don't have any worries. You don't have any responsibilities. You are free to do whatever you want to do, okay? So she says when she was a teenager, when she was younger, she was carefree because all she had to do was study well in school. And then she says, and I was really into sports, so I was really competitive. She's adding details. And then Peter asks, continuing the conversation naturally, he asks her about the sports she was involved in. So what kind of sports did you do? She says, I did field hockey, softball, and also volleyball. But here, take a look. You can say I played, but instead she said I did field hockey, softball, and volleyball. So you could do a sport, you could play a sport, but also do a sport, okay? And then she asks, did you play sports when you were younger, in your teenage years? And Peter said he enjoyed soccer, or rather football, right? I'm a massive. Massive means gigantic, very big, huge. So he's saying, I'm a massive fan of football. I am a huge fan of football. I'm a big fan of football. I love football, in other words. And then he says, I'm a massive, passionate fan of football, and I played a lot when I was younger. So he's talking about the kind of sport he enjoyed when he was younger. Here we go. Finally, Rachel asks, do you still play? The do is omitted. She says, you still play? And then he says, I'm thinking about retiring now that I have a baby. Okay, so when you retire from something, you just stop doing it. You can retire from work, meaning you can stop working at your job. Anyhow, he's saying maybe, yeah, I should stop stop playing sports now that I have a baby, now that I have more responsibilities. Now I have to take care of my baby, so maybe I won't play sports or as much as before. 30s, 20s, teens, it's just a number, right? I think even in Korean, there is that, I guess, idiomatic expression. It's 나이는 숫자에 불과하다? Something like that. Exactly. That's what it is. It's just a number. 29, 30s, 20s, teens, it's just a number. It's no big deal. And then he says, age is what you make it. Age is what you make it. Basically, he's saying, well, age, it depends on what you think about it. If you're 20 years old and you think, oh, I'm old, then you're old. If you're 50 years old and you think, oh, I'm still young, then you feel young and perhaps you even look young. So age is what you make it. It all depends on how you think. And of course, Rachel ends the conversation by saying, exactly, you're right. Okay, everyone, hope you enjoyed the actual talk. Let's take a listen to it one more time.
Rachel, I've got to tell you something. I'm quite angry with you. I recently had a big birthday.
How old did you turn?
I turned the big 3-0.
Wow, the 3-0.
That's not a wow. That's a oh no, disaster.
Well, happy belated birthday anyway.
Thank you, at last.
Yeah, at last.
Better late than never.
That's true. I'm sorry that I'm late, but happy belated birthday. Do you feel different now that you're 30?
I didn't even think about it until the day.
Oh.
And then my wife kept saying, you're 30, how does it feel? And I was like, first time I just didn't think about it. I was like, it's fine. Then
Yeah.
she kept saying it. And I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, I'm 30. I haven't changed decades, like, since I turned 20.
That's definitely true.
Oh, it's not a great feeling.
Oh. What were you like in your 20s?
In my 20s, it was a decade of change, I think. At the
Yeah.
start of it, single, going to university. At the end of it, married with a baby. So
Wow,
quite a
lots of changes.
big contrast.
Yeah.
How old are you, Rachel?
I am 26.
Okay,
So
you're still
mid-20s.
young.
I'm only 4 years younger than you.
That's a big 4 years. That's when you go from young to old.
Oh no, I don't look
No,
forward to it.
I'm just kidding. But what were you like when you were a teenager?
When I was a teenager, I was really carefree because my only responsibility was to be a student, right? Yeah, and I was really into sports, so I was really competitive at the same time.
Wow, what kind of sports did you do?
I did field hockey, softball, and also volleyball.
Amazing.
Did you play sports in your teenage years, or?
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of football. Well, in North America you call it soccer.
That's true, soccer.
Yes, but the one that you actually play with your feet, football, is I'm a massive, passionate fan of football, and I played a lot when I was younger.
You still play?
I'm thinking about retiring now that I have a baby. But yeah, 30s, 20s, teens, it's just a number, right?
That's true.
Age is what you make it.
Exactly.
Now that we've taken a listen to and a look at today's actual talk one more time, let's focus on some actual talk expressions you can make use of. So once again, today we are talking about age, talking about our age or other people's age. For example, in the dialogue there was the big 3-0, right? So yeah, the big and then number. You can add the age. And you can say, in 2 months, I'll be turning the big 4-0. I'll be turning 40 years old. Make it interesting. Okay, one more time. In 2 months, I'll be turning the big 4-0, or I'll be turning the big 40. One more. My grandmother just turned the huge 80. Huge is bigger than big, so you're just stressing that she has now become very, very old. One more time. My grandmother just turned, it was recently her birthday, and she just turned the huge 80 or 80. All right, belated, as I did mention, it means delayed, late, but you can use it like this as well. My aunt and uncle are on a belated honeymoon. Right, so you can say, happy belated birthday, but you can say that somebody could go on a belated honeymoon, okay? Another one. His love was too belated. Simply put, it was too late. 버스 놓쳤어요. 기차 놓쳤나요? Anyhow, it's too late. 너무 늦어버린 거죠. His love was too belated to matter to her. She gave up on him months ago. So now, she's not interested in him anymore. It's too late. His love was too belated to matter. One more, better late than never. You're saying that although it should have happened earlier, it's better that it did happen late. Better than nothing, right? So, better late than never. I know you're late for your appointment, but drive safely. It's better late than never. Meaning, if you don't drive safely, you can get into a car accident and you may not even be able to go there. So, you're saying, you're late, I know, but drive safely. Better late than never. One more you can check out, related vocabulary is, it's better safe than sorry. Very similar. Here we go with one more sample sentence. I got a flu shot today. 주사 맞았어요. I didn't have to. You were not obligated to, but better safe than sorry. Okay, better safe than sorry. Meaning, it's better to get the flu shot or better to do something than to regret not having done it in the future. One more time. I didn't have to, but better safe than sorry, right? Okay, those are today's actual talk expressions, everyone. Practice them on your own and make them yours. Now let's take you to today's actual story.
My age? My age. Maybe I forgot. Let's just say I'm not young and I'm not old, but I'm still young at heart. Anyway, let's see. In my teenage years, I was actually rather focused, more so than I've ever been since. Focused on education, of course, and enjoying life. In my 20s, I was out kind of exploring the world, learning who I was. In my 30s, I focused on growing my career, and in my 40s, I'm just enjoying life and really still feel like I'm just getting started in some ways, but I'm looking forward to the adventure.
Okay, everyone, that was today's actual talk. Of course, thanks to Peter once again for the wonderful story, a very personal story about his age. Now, in the beginning, it did not sound like he wanted to openly tell us his age, right? Because he said something. But we'll take a look at that in just a bit. But it's wonderful that he actually focused on what he was like in his teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s, and so on. Because today's question was, talk about your age. What were you like in your teenage years, your 20s and 30s, and so on? So let's take a look. All right. Now, he mentioned a lot more, but let's summarize it and take a look at a few expressions. He says, let's just say I'm not young, okay? And I'm not old, but I'm still young at heart. I love this sentence. I think this is wonderful, okay? Now, but first of all, let's just say I'm not young and I'm not old. Now, when would you say let's just say? You would say that when you don't really want to open something, okay? When you don't really want to tell someone honestly about something. So, since he said, let's just say, it means he kind of wants to keep his age a secret. So he says, let's just say I'm not young and I'm not old. But he says, but I'm still young at heart. It's an expression that you may be familiar with, even in Korean, okay? When you say this, it basically means that you feel young. You may be 40 years old, you may be 70, 80, but you feel very young. 마음만은 청춘이다. 마음은 20대다. Okay, it's very similar to that expression. I'm still young at heart. Okay. And then he says, anyway, let's see, in my teenage years, he's talking about what he was like specifically. So, in one's teenage years, I was so-and-so. And then you can talk about in my 20s, I was. But here, let's check it out. First of all, let's just say. What you can say are, here are some examples. These are two short conversations, so we're going to break it up there. Jeff says, how did the date go? Perhaps a blind date. And then Beck says, let's just say I've been on better ones. So what does that mean? Now, let's just say is often used in more negative situations. So she's saying, well, I wouldn't say it was wonderful. Let's just say I've been on better ones. It was okay. Okay, she kind of wants to keep it a secret, but she wasn't too happy about it. Another one, Dawn says to Lisa, your artwork is incredible. It's wonderful. It's marvelous. And then Lisa says, well, I'm not a professional, but let's just say I really like to paint. So the point here is, I'm not a professional, but let's put it this way. Let me say, let's just say, let's put it this way, okay? So please make use of let's just say in the future when you do get the chance. And here we go with one more pattern. Remember, in my teenage years, in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 50s, for example, you can say in my teenage years, I was focused on verb ing form, or you can say a noun form. For example, you can say in my teens or teenage years, it's the same. I was focused on getting good grades. Perhaps when you were in high school, all you did was study, so you were focused on getting good grades. One more, last year, I was focused on getting married. Getting married. And this year, I'm focused on my husband. So in this case, in the beginning, getting married, it's the verb ing form. You can also say I'm focused on or I was focused on something or someone as well. Okay, those are our patterns for today, everyone. Make use of them, and that is a wrap for today's actual story.
My age? My age. Maybe I forgot. Let's just say I'm not young and I'm not old, but I'm still young at heart. Anyway, let's see. In my teenage years, I was actually rather focused, more so than I've ever been since. Focused on education, of course, and enjoying life. In my 20s, I was out kind of exploring the world, learning who I was. In my 30s, I focused on growing my career. And in my 40s, I'm just enjoying life and really still feel like I'm just getting started in some ways. But I'm looking forward to the adventure.
Well, as with any other topic, everyone, I do stress this over and over and over again, but just keep in mind that with anyone or in any situation, it is your responsibility. It's your job to make the conversation interesting. Of course, the other person can do that, but why not you be the one to make it a lot more interesting? Today, I guess we had a great example, a great conversation that you can keep in mind as an example. Just because you have to talk about your age does not mean that you only have to talk about how old you are. You can talk about so many more things. You can talk about how happy you are about your age, how you feel about your age, how you felt before, perhaps in your 20s or your teens, and how you think you might feel when you get older, for example. So talk about the details and always think, express your thoughts and feelings, all right? Okay, that is a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Next time, I'll be joining you back with another topic. We'll be talking about family, okay? So please tune in for that. I'll give you the details the next time you tune in. In the meantime, come to our homepage at www.ebse.co.kr and check out our scripts. They're all up there on our homepage. Okay, well, have a great day. I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.